Welcome back. State Security Agency money was used to fund factional political activity in the ANC. That's according to the agency's acting Director General, Loyiso Jafta. He's taken the stand at the state capture inquiry after the State Security Minister Ayanda Dlodlo's attempts to stop him from testifying were dismissed. Barry Bateman is following proceedings for us. He joins us now live. So, Barry, let's start with the latest testimony from Loyiso Jafta in the past hour or so. He's mentioned Dudu Myeni and other questionable public figures.
He has indeed, and he's also spoken about how the absolute breakdown of controls within the organization, particularly when it came to money and so on. I mean, he gave the staggering example, Shahan, how easy it was to just walk out of that building here in the east of Pretoria with bags of cash, that somebody would write up just what's called a certificate saying, I need an amount of 20 million, for example, to do this certain project. It is in line with this and that, and it's going to take X amount of time to complete it. And the money would be handed over, and the person would be able to walk out of the organization with this cash, come back months later, and just to, in terms of accounting for how it was spent, he would simply say that the operation was a success, and he might even say that I need more money and this would be dispersed as well. Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo was absolutely astounded that there could be such an incredible breakdown of the controls within the organization. But Loyiso Jafta explaining, it's not that there weren't mechanisms in place. It's just that they were seen as an inconvenience. And where convenient, where the Constitution or the prescriptions in law were blocking whatever activities they wanted to engage in, they would simply step around them. And to be able to do this as well without being accountable, the books were cooked. They were, massaged, as he explained it, so that the oversight bodies, for example, such as Parliament, wouldn't be able to pick up this abuse of funds and, this lack of accountability within this organization.
Yeah, so we've heard from the acting DG how funds were used to advance the ANC's interests. Tell us more.
And it speaks directly to what we just discussed there about the lack of accountability, where funds within the organization were used to advance party political interests. But just take a listen to how Jafta explained it.
The first point is around the politicization of the State Security Agency. This is fact. There are, and this is how I understand it to have manifested itself, and you see it in the projects that were being run. There are monies that left the agency for the purposes of funding political activity, principally within the African National Congress. And often, when you drill into it, it's not funding the African National Congress credibly. It is to fund activities of a particular faction within the African National Congress. So there would be monies dispersed for that purpose. There would be operations intended to, if you will, to drill into the credibility of those who are not on the faction. That's within the African National Congress. You then have another situation where, particularly whenever we go towards an election, there would be projects that would be intended and funded to enhance the political fortunes of the ANC.
So Jafta wanted to draw a distinction of Zuma as president of the ANC and as a private citizen. Why did he want to do that?
Well, this was important for Jafta because those factions that he just referred to there within the ANC that got the support from the State Security Agency was the faction which was favorable to the former president. So he explained there how those factions received cash, and that was the benefit there was indirectly for Zuma because it was through the ANC and for those factions. But he spoke about direct benefit for the former president. And here he referred to, and you'll recall this, the incident where Zuma was allegedly poisoned. And the suspect in that particular matter was his wife, Ma Ntuli. We know that the NPA eventually declined to prosecute that matter because there simply was no case. But the SSA, through one of its projects, was brought into this matter, and they investigated, or we heard yesterday that they had a safe house, that's the way it was described by Mr. Mufamadi, that they kept Ma Ntuli in. But listen to the way Jafta explains it. It's considerably more shocking.
The State Security Agency then was involved in that investigation. And in essence, then Mrs. Zuma then was in essence put in the custody of the State Security Agency. In simple terms,
that is Mrs. Mantuli Zuma.
Mrs. Mantuli Zuma,
yeah,
yes.
okay.
In essence, then he was in remand detention, so to speak, without having gone through the due processes that lead one to being a remand.
She was kept there against her will.
I absolutely believe against her will.
Yes.
I absolutely believe against her will.
Yes.
And there is sufficient evidence that points at her being disagreeable to the circumstances she found herself in.